all. There's never been anything like what's happened. I'm an innocent man. I'm an innocent person. They had the Mueller hoax, the Mueller report, and that came out. No collusion after 2.5 years. That was set up by Hillary Clinton and Democrats.
This dude is still talking about Hillary Clinton and Democrats, like, all these years later. How long has it been since Hillary Clinton has been, like, the focus of politics in the U.S., honestly? 8 years, maybe? So if you didn't hear, Donald Trump has been indicted again, except this time it seems to be really serious. It's about the documents, the classified documents that he took home with him after he left. They were the highest level of security, and he stole them from the White House, refused to give them back is a big thing. So we're going to take a look at them, and we're going to bring a third-year law student in to talk about it with us. The annotated version of the classified document indictment. The third-year law student is my wife here. This is Rose. So anyway, she's going to be helping us in just a minute. But before we talk about the indictment specifically with Rose, we're going to watch a reaction to Donald Trump being indicted. Like, one of his followers is absolutely losing his mind. So let's watch this video. This is Mark Levin on Fox News melting down over Donald Trump being indicted on this documents case. By the way, this documents case is serious. This is real. Okay, people get 20 years in ADX Florence Supermax for what Donald Trump did. No joke. This is real. So let's listen to Mark Levin downplay it and talk about how it's not a big deal and the Democrats are just doing a witch hunt and all this stuff. Check this out. Early June 2023.
They're throwing all these process crimes and all these crimes that grow out of the criminal investigation against Trump.
He thinks this is a process crime, apparently.
What did he do with the documents? Did he sell them to the enemy? No.
Hey, you don't know that. That's the problem. We have no idea what he did with the documents. Actually, we do know what he did with them. He stacked them up in his bathroom so people could sit on the toilet reading them like a shampoo bottle. That's what he did with the documents. Quick interjection. I won't take long. I just wanted to tell you guys, YouTube's algorithm operates off of a few factors. Watch time, whether or not you subscribe, and whether or not you like something. So if you really want to help my channel, I would appreciate it if you guys watch the video to the end. If you don't watch it to the end, just watch a little bit longer than you would have otherwise. I would appreciate that very much. All right, let's get back to the video. So anyways, I mean, there's a real picture of this, seriously. Anyways, yeah, this guy's melting down and trying to make light of this when this is actually a very serious situation.
That's why we have an Espionage Act, not to trick up a president. What did he do? Did he burn them all? No. The government has all the documents back.
I don't think they have all of them. I could be wrong on this. Do you know anything about this, Rose? If they have all the documents, did they recover all of them?
I think they recovered most of them. I think some of them were flushed down the toilet.
Yeah, that's what I heard too. 10 to 15 times flushing that toilet because those documents wouldn't go down. Seriously, this is like ridiculous. This whole situation is absurd.
So there is no violation of the Presidential Records Act at this point. But they throw the book at him. They go after his attorneys. They make them testify. They're attorneys under the crime fraud exception to attorney-client privilege. That means he didn't have due process.
Okay, there's an exception to, what was it? The crime fraud exception to attorney-client privilege? That's not a violation of due process. Do you have any insight on this, Rose?
I mean, it's pretty much true. Like, if you know that your client is going to be committing a crime or is using like what you tell them to commit a crime, you kind of have to report that. Otherwise, that's not great. So, yeah, that's not a violation of due process. That's the client, or that's the lawyers just trying to make sure they're doing everything above board the way that they're required to by the ethics board and their, state board.
Right. So from my understanding, there are an absolutely absurd amount of ethics that lawyers have to follow. There are ethics classes that you have to take. And if you violate some of these ethics, you lose your right to practice law. You get your bar license yanked. I mean, this happened to Rudy Giuliani, right? So from my understanding, what Mark Levin is talking about, bringing it back to Donald Trump, As soon as the indictment dropped, Donald Trump's lawyers quit. 2 of them quit on the spot when they read the indictment. That should tell you something about how real this is. Okay, he's paying them obscene amounts of money, no doubt. How much are they making? Millions of dollars a year to work for him, right? And the prestige involved in this. Even if they lose the case, their names are going to be tied to this for the rest of their lives, right? And that's prestigious. But when the indictment dropped, they quit. That should tell you about how serious this is for Donald Trump right now. This is no joke.
His own lawyers were being subjected to interrogations, and they had hundreds of in-person people testifying in front of grand juries.
The gall. Hundreds of people testifying, you say. Can you imagine?
Thousands of collections of documents. For what? For what? And they indict him today? They indict him today in Miami? All of a sudden it's in Miami? All of a sudden we have a Florida grand jury? Because the moron in Washington figured out that there are venue issues.
Dude, I have no idea what he is talking about right now. Venue issues? Does this make any sense to you?
Yeah, so grand jury was actually in Washington.
Because it's a federal charge.
Yeah. And then they indicted him in Miami because that's the easiest place to have the case. You know, everything related to the crime occurred there. All the witnesses are there. All the evidence is there. Trump's there. That's Trump's home state. Like, it only makes sense to have it there. Otherwise, had they brought it in Washington, it could have been dismissed under a doctrine called forum non-conveniens, which is basically Latin for this isn't a convenient forum, and it wouldn't be.
Yeah, that makes sense. I also heard that Judge Eileen Cannon is going to be the judge overseeing this case in the early stages. Now, if that name sounds familiar to you, it's probably because Eileen Cannon was the judge that appointed a special master to Trump's last case. I mean, the last time, I think it was the documents case, actually, originally. She very obviously showed favor to Trump originally. It showed bias in his favor, it seems to me and pretty much everybody else. It is a subjective thing, but it seems like she showed favor. And the feds, I guess, sent the case to her on this indictment. I found that interesting. There's no way that she could possibly, seems to me, dismiss this without it raising obscene red flags. And there are, like, steps you can take after that if she were to dismiss it. It's just not going to happen, from my understanding.
And we have a Florida grand jury because the moron in Washington figured out that there are venue issues.
Who's the moron in Washington? Is that supposed to be Biden? Biden's unconnected to this entirely.
That could lose him his case.
Maybe the moron in Washington is supposed to be Jack Smith? The dude's not a moron. The dude prosecuted war crimes in The Hague for a while, okay? He's not a nobody. This is Christina Bobb. She's on Right Side Broadcasting Network, RSBN, a lot. And she was also one of Trump's lawyers. I'm not sure if she still is, if she quit. She's a civil lawyer, not a criminal lawyer. So she's a public figure and a civil defense lawyer, I guess, or whatever. Anyway, she's now just a straight propagandist for Donald Trump. This is her reaction to the indictment dropping. Again, no excuses for this. Trump is in real trouble here. Like I said, people spend 20 years in supermax prisons for what Trump did. Early June 2023, this is what Christina Bobb had to say.
I don't think he's going to get convicted. I don't even know that this indictment is going to survive, quite frankly. It completely disregards the law. So
just completely absurd. No basis to any of this.
So I'm not even considering that at this point as something that we need to be concerned about. Donald Trump's going to win the presidential election. He's going to be the next president of the United States, unless Joe Biden gets impeached and there has to be someone between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Donald Trump is going to be the president of the United States again. I'm not worried at all about jail time or any potential criminal convictions, none of it.
Well, that's fascinating to me because Trump's own lawyers seemed pretty worried about it, or they wouldn't have quit the moment it dropped, seems to me. Just putting it out there.
None of it. This is all, quite honestly, and Jim, you and I have been talking about this for years now. This is election interference. That's what this is. They're trying to influence the election.
And there's the propaganda, right? You know, back in 2016, you guys may not remember this. I was barely paying attention at the time. I was just getting into politics. 2016, 2015, just days before the election, whenever that was. I think it was November 2016. James Comey was the head of the FBI, and he announced on TV, on all of the networks, that he was opening an investigation into Hillary Clinton's handling of classified documents days before the election. That investigation was closed and no wrongdoing was found eventually. Why did he decide to do that days before the election? I mean, Republicans have been doing this, like, meddling and in these little dirty tricks for decades. This isn't a dirty trick. What's happening to Donald Trump right now? They want these propagandists want to make it seem like a dirty trick. But Republicans have actually been pulling dirty tricks for decades. You know, Roger Stone, Donald Trump's, I don't know, friend and body man that ran around and did things for him, communicated with the Proud Boys for him. You know, Roger Stone got his start with Richard Nixon. And at the time, back in the 60s or whenever this was, he donated $10,000 to, I think it was Nixon's political opponent, in the name of Socialists for America or something like that. Got the receipt and slipped the receipt to the news. And suddenly, it's all over the news. The opponent of Nixon is a socialist because socialists are donating to him. That's the kind of dirty trick that Roger Stone used to pull and is still pulling to this day. Those are the types of dirty tricks that we've seen from the political right wing for decades. And I don't want to play this both sides thing, like both sides are dirty, both sides do all that. No, it's not like that. The right, the political right, conservatism in the United States has been obsessed with dirty tricks for decades. Are there some scumbag Democrats? Absolutely. Scumbag Republicans vastly outnumber scumbag Democrats. So anyways, we're going to take a look at Donald Trump's reaction to the indictment in a second, but let's take a look at the annotated indictment here. This is on New York Times. I'm just going to scan through. If there's anything specific that you want to point out, Rose, then let me know. Do you want to hit this or do you want to go down further?
Well, I just want to mention that this is where that one guy was getting this whole idea about there being venue issues, because in this annotated document right here, it's saying, oh yeah, they chose to bring the case so that Trump wouldn't go and cause like all sorts of other like procedural issues with the case and delay it. That's all it would be. He wouldn't be losing the case because of improper venue. It'd just be a massive headache for the lawyer's procedural.
Got it. Really interesting. I mean, I assume that Donald Trump is going to pull every dirty trick in the book to delay this and cause problems and trip up the case. The general rule, from my understanding, is the longer you can drag a case out, the better it is for you, because witnesses die or change their mind, evidence goes stale, statute of limitations, things like that. So Trump has always tried to drag things out as long as he possibly could in every single case he's ever been involved in, criminal, civil, whatever, right? So let's take a look at like some of the other annotated stuff here. It says the indictment lays out the potential danger of the classified information in the documents Mr. Trump kept at his Mar-a-Lago estate. It says the unauthorized disclosure of these classified documents could put at risk the national security of the U.S., foreign relations, safety of the U.S. military and human sources, and the continued viability of sensitive intelligence collection methods. So, from my understanding, he really kept stuff in his bathroom, no joke. He kept classified documents in his bathroom. I made a joke earlier about, like, keeping this stuff in the bathroom so you could read it like a shampoo bottle. That seems real. I mean, it was only partially a joke. Not only that, but a lot of the documents, I guess we've come to find the documents, some of the more sensitive ones that he had, were plans drawn up for war with a specific country, how we would infiltrate this country and go to war with them. And I've heard, again, don't take my word for this, look this up yourself, I believe It was redacted in these documents, but I think that the recording said that Trump made note that it was Iran that the war plans were drawn up for. So let's see. The indictment lays out 5 specific actions by Trump that it says were illegal obstruction, right? So Trump tried to establish the idea that he was capable of just declassifying things by thinking about it. And as it turns out, we found out that they have a recording of Trump after the fact saying, these are classified documents. I didn't declassify them when I was president. I could have, and I chose not to, basically. He knew. He knew what he was doing. This is the clearest cut case of obstruction of justice and everything that I can possibly find. This guy right here, Waltine Nauta, this name here in the B section, directing defendant Waltine Nauta to move boxes of documents to conceal them from Trump's attorney, the FBI, and the grand jury. Waltine Nauta, goes by Walt, is apparently what is referred to as Trump's body guy. He's the dude that runs around and does things for Trump. And he was specifically named in this indictment also. This guy's probably going to federal prison for the rest of his life, this Nauta guy. I think he used to be in the military for like 20 years or something, and then he just started working for Donald Trump. Crazy, man. Mr. Trump's aide, Walt Nauta, was also indicted and is described in this filing as a co-conspirator in the crimes. Right, that's the next annotated section. Anything to mention?
Oh yeah, quite a bit. So with this, it's very interesting how meticulous this entire indictment is. Like, it's making an incredibly strong case that Trump committed a crime under the Espionage Act, specifically 18 USC section 793 subsection E, I believe what it is. And that first annotated section, that was what it was talking about. It was like your first introduction to these charges, right? So to be charged with a crime.
You're talking about this section here on the screen?
Further, yes, right there. We're good. Okay. So under this crime, there are 5 elements that the prosecution needs to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, which that's hard to do. That is incredibly difficult to do. So there are 5 elements to this. You have to know that the information was related to national defense. You have to know that the people that you disclosed the information to weren't supposed to have it. Then you also have to prove that what the defendant was doing, what they knew was unlawful, and they had reason to believe that that information could be used to injure the United States, and they intended for that injury to happen. That's what that first element was laying out, that these documents, they weren't just like, the soup of the day in the White House. They were very serious documents that could lead to actual injury to the United States, and also establish that Trump knew that too. So those are 2 elements right there that you already have taken care of. And the rest of the indictment just goes on and establishes all the other elements for this and for obstruction, 18 USC subsection 1519. Now, what's interesting with Mr. Nauta is that he's being described as a co-conspirator. That is very, very serious. When you're a co-conspirator, that means that the prosecution is attempting to prove you had an agreement to break the law with the other person. So in this case, they're saying that there was like an actual agreement between these two to obstruct justice, to commit violations of the Espionage Act. And that would make Mr. Nauta liable for everything that Trump did, and vice versa.
Does it mean that they're most likely going to get the same sentence, you think?
It depends, because they could have charges outside of that as well. But it's basically making their job a lot easier if they can prove a conspiracy, the prosecutions. Because then once you have one person's case all taken care of and squared up, then the other person is automatically liable for it. You don't need to do any extra work. I believe it's called the Pinkerton rule under crim law. I'll have to
Pinkerton, that's super interesting. There's a history behind that name.
Yeah. So, but, we won't get in too far into that. But yeah, it's very interesting. They're specifically pointing out that these two were conspiring together. That is very, very legally significant.
That's interesting. And something else to make note of here, this is very unprecedented to have a past president indicted on crimes like this has never happened in U.S. history. And so we don't really know exactly what's going to happen. A lot of this is speculative about what's going to happen to Donald Trump. We honestly have no way to know if he's going to get the same sentence as Nauta or anybody else. We have no idea. But I think that I feel like it's safe to say if it was just a normal person, two normal people that were not previously a president, I think it's safe to say in this case, both people would likely get the same sentence since they were co-conspirators. Do you think that's safe to say or no?
I don't think anything's safe to say when it comes to the legal system, if we're going to be honest. It can depend on what the judge had for breakfast that day, what kind of sentence someone's getting, but they'd probably receive something similar. Again, though, it's hard to say. It's a giant it depends.
Sorry, I was taking a sip of my coffee there for a second. Okay, interesting. So I just want to scroll down and look at just a little bit more of this and see if there's like anything else that sticks out. So it's kind of detailing, I think it was 37 different indictments, right? 37 different charges against the guy, from my understanding. Oh my God, look, they have pictures here. Look at these pictures. This is in his grand ballroom, I think. He has 2 different ballrooms. This is the big one. Just documents sitting out here. This is nuts, dude. The indictment includes a photograph showing that some of the boxes Trump had taken from the White House were stored for a time in a ballroom in Mar-a-Lago where guests had access. And we know for a fact that there were Chinese and Russian spies that were trying to get close to Donald Trump and get into Mar-a-Lago to be close to him, just to be there. What did they see? What did they have an opportunity to peruse, to walk around on their own? Did they have a chance to glance around? I mean, he stored him in a bathroom. He stored him in the ballroom. Really? Here's a picture of them in the bathroom. Again, people sitting on the toilet reading them like a shampoo bottle, seems to me.
I like to imagine that Trump was in there on Truth Social, just scrolling through until his butt went numb from the toilet seat and glancing up every now and then and basking in the glow of his quote unquote papers, as he called
basking in his classified documents. Again, these documents, some of this stuff was top secret SCI. That's like need to know stuff. If this stuff got out, people would die. We have spies and informants and stuff in all kinds of different countries. Russia has them in the U.S. China has them in the U.S., I'm sure. We have them in China. We have them in Russia. Some of these documents are so sensitive. I mean, we don't know what was in them, but they are the same level of sensitive as the documents that contain names of spies in other countries. Trump having them out like this could get people killed, and likely did. So this is real, what he did. This is real. And these charges that he's facing are no joke. I mean, look, here are more pictures of Donald Trump's classified documents. Anything from confidential all the way up to top secret SCI. There's only one level above that, I think. And this is the level, like some of the documents that he had was at the same level that nuclear secrets are kept at. Like, this is serious. I mean, the fact that Nauta didn't have security clearance, at the very least didn't have Trump's level of security clearance, and was moving them around. Trump specifically asked this guy to move them from this place to that place or whatever. The fact that he was even left alone with them should tell you something. Trump doesn't care about the level of security involved here. Never did. He just cared about having them. He cared about the fact that they were in his possession, like a toy or something. Insane.
What's really hilarious in this, though, is that the prosecution goes through and details like all the different times Trump has said like how important it is to make sure that like classified information remains safe. And it's him yelling about Hillary Clinton, but they're using that as a way to basically argue that, yeah, he knows about like how important this is. He just, like you said, wanted to have it in his possession. At one point, they even say how Trump stated somebody who misuses classified information should be ashamed of themselves. And translating from legalese, all of that is just a giant middle finger to Trump. And it's funny.
Absolutely crazy, man. Yeah, he specifically called out Hillary Clinton for her mishandling of classified documents, when in fact, from my understanding, she didn't mishandle classified documents. Nothing. So the whole thing with Hillary Clinton back in 2016, again, if you weren't paying attention back then, the whole thing was she ran her own email server and communicated with people through, her own email system, basically. Nothing that she said was classified. Nothing. No communiques that she had with anybody else was classified at any point. There are arguments that maybe it should have been, but it wasn't. And for the record, Trump and Jared Kushner and Ivanka and a bunch of other people communicated with their other people in the White House and stuff through Gmail accounts. That's a private email system, not one protected by the government. No, it's not a government account. So they were guilty of the same thing that they lambast Hillary for doing. But here we have Trump really, actually putting national security in danger, doing the thing that he accused Hillary of doing. He actually did it. He is, as far as I can tell, guilty of espionage as it's written in criminal code. Do you have any other thoughts on this before we move on to Trump's video?
Just that is a Shakespearean level of irony, and I'm relishing it.
Yeah, it's pretty fantastic to watch, honestly. And on that note, let's watch Trump defend his honor. Check this out. Early June 2023. This is after the indictment dropped. You can tell he's scared.
Well, there's never been anything like what's happened. I'm an innocent man. I'm an innocent person. They had the Mueller hoax, the Mueller report, and that came out. No collusion after 2.5 years.
So that's false. I just want to point out what he's doing here. This is important. He's using keywords, loaded language, and cliches in an attempt to link things together in his supporters' minds. When they hear Mueller, they don't think about Donald Trump actually being guilty of colluding with Russia, which is actually what the Mueller report said. It said he was colluding with Russia. They don't think about that. They think about the next key word in the phrase, no collusion. Mueller is linked with no collusion in their head. He uses these keywords and repeats them over and over and over again. And anytime he knows he has the spotlight, like immediately after an indictment, like right now, this, or after he was indicted for the hush money payments with Stormy Daniels in New York, after that, the news is paying attention to him. And he knew that, so he used it as an opportunity to propagandize. Why is he talking about Mueller and Russia right now? Why is he saying no collusion? There's no reason to talk about that. He's using this as his opportunity, because he knows all eyes are on him, to spread his propaganda. He's always done it this way. He's a master manipulator of the media. Well, keep listening here.
No collusion after 2.5 years that was set up by Hillary Clinton and Democrats.
Why is he still talking about Hillary Clinton? Seriously.
But this is what they do. This is what they do so well. If they would devote their energies to honesty and integrity, it would be a lot better for our country. They could do it.
Wow, dude. Okay, why is he red? I'm just curious. I'm sorry. Look, I don't like making fun of people's appearances. I don't do that, okay? But this is a conscious choice that he's making to wear orange makeup. I don't get how did this get popularized to wear orange makeup? You can tell it's makeup. You know how? Let's just Google Trump orange makeup. Look, just look closely. You can see around his eyes here, there's no orange makeup. You can see around his hairline, it's not orange. Why is he wearing orange makeup? Somebody give me the answer. Look, he doesn't even bother covering his eyes, right? And there's actually a picture. I'm not sure if this one's real or not, dude. I tell you what, this is why this is fun. This reminds me of my mom. Looks exactly like my mom. Spitting image. Disturbing. Anyways, yeah, here's a better shot of that. There's an actual picture of Trump walking away from his airplane after a rally that he did. Here, right here. This is what I'm talking about. Orange makeup on his collar. Why? Why does he wear orange makeup? Somebody please explain this to me. He's orange. This is a conscious choice.
Our country, they could do a lot better. They could do a lot of great things. They're going to stop us is by using what's called warfare. And that's what it is. This is warfare for the law.
I think he meant to say lawfare. He's trying to popularize that term right now. It's just a nonsensical, weird term, and he probably got tripped up and messed up what he was saying.
And we can't let it happen. We can't let it happen. Our country is going to hell, and they come after.
So that phrase right there, our country is going to hell, he repeats that over and over and over again because he knows his evangelical audience will be listening to this. He knows his evangelical audience it'll trip something up in their brain, and they'll freak out and feel fear, uncertainty, and doubt. A propagandistic way of getting somebody's attention. This is all intentional. Donald Trump has been manipulating the media the same exact way for decades. Not even after he became president. Not even during the 2016 election. Long before that. He's always manipulated the media like this.
After Donald Trump weaponizing the Justice Department, weaponizing the FBI, we can't let this continue to go on because it's ripping our country to shreds.
See, he picks little sound bites, little things that he can say, key words that can be repeated easily. No collusion, Mueller hoax, impeachment hoax 1, impeachment hoax 2. These are all key words that can be repeated over and over again, and are. And here's another one, weaponizing the justice system. It's a code phrase that his supporters will repeat everywhere. Thanksgiving dinner in front of everybody that they know. They'll get on, Newsmax reporters, quote unquote, Newsmax political commentators, more accurate, will get on there and say the exact same things. It's all part of his manipulation.
We have such big problems, and this shouldn't be one of them. It's a hoax.
See, the hoax, another key word he uses. Witch hunt, hoax.
The whole thing is a hoax, just like Russia, just like the fake dossier was a hoax. You saw the Durham report. You saw the Mueller report. It was all a big hoax.
Dude, why is he even talking about any of this stuff? We're talking about the fact that he's just indicted for espionage. Why is he talking about Russia? Why is he talking about the Mueller report or the Durham report? None of this stuff has anything to do with anything. The reason he's doing it is because he knows he has the spotlight, and he's going to use it as an opportunity to propagandize.
We had 2 impeachments, and they lost, and we won. And we had tremendous support. But that was a hoax and a scam. And now they're doing it again. It's just a continuation, 7 years, even after I'm out. But it's called election interference. They're trying to destroy a reputation so they can win an election. That's just as bad as doing any of the other things that have been done over the last number of years, and especially during the 2020 election.
Dude, I feel like he just rambles.
So I just want to tell you, I'm an innocent man. I did nothing wrong. And we will fight this out just like we've been fighting for 7 years. It would be wonderful if we could devote our full time to making America great again. And that's exactly what we did. But now...
Well, what happened? America isn't great, I guess? I mean, this is actually kind of amusing because Trump had a little bit of a conundrum in the 2020 campaign that he ran. How can you possibly put "Make America Great Again" on anything? You were in charge for 4 years. The Senate and the House belonged to Republicans. How can you possibly put "Make America Great Again" on anything? How can that be your slogan when you just had complete control of the government? I thought it was great. What happened? I thought you were going to make it great. You had your opportunity. You had your shot. And here we sit, supposedly a wrecked America in this guy's mind. You know that he has been running campaign ads against Joe Biden. Donald Trump has. And he's showing like protests and violence and police brutality and all this stuff and saying this is Biden's America when it's actually Trump's America that he was showing. He was showing things that happened during his term. There is no sense of hypocrisy with this guy. There's no sense of principle or anything. Like, this guy doesn't understand the meaning of the word hypocrisy, seemingly.
Again, our country is in decline. We're a failing nation. And this is what they do. I'm an innocent man. We will prove that again. 7 years of proving it. And here we go again. Very unfair. But that's the way it is. I just want to thank everybody. We are doing something very special for our country. We're putting America first. I always put
America first. No, he doesn't. For the record, even saying America first is a dog whistle. You guys may not be aware of this, but back in the 30s and 40s, it was very unpopular to support Hitler in the U.S. In fact, I don't know, it may have even been illegal to support people who were not allies of the United States. I don't know. There were weird freedom of speech laws back then. So somebody created, I think Lindbergh, maybe Charles Lindbergh or something, created the America First Party. And the point of the America First Party was effectively to do whatever it was that Hitler wanted, to encourage the United States to pull out of World War II, to not get involved. America First is a thinly veiled dog whistle, honestly. It's like a dog foghorn, where he's screaming white nationalism. He's screaming right-wing extremism when he says that kind of thing, America first. And that unfair thing, honestly, the dude who's born with a silver or even a platinum spoon in his mouth is talking about how unfair things are. Give me a break. Do you have any thoughts, Rose?
Honestly, I find it hilarious. There's lots of things about this I find hilarious, but he's repeating over and over how innocent he is, how there's no way that they're ever going to find him guilty, priming his audience to think that no matter what comes next, he truly was an innocent man. And then you look more at the indictment and you look at some of the meetings that he had with people. And at one point he pulls out like some classified information, shoves it into someone's face and says, "Look, this is secret. Look at this. I'm not supposed to have this." Like, you're a moron.
Yeah, it's absolutely insufferable and absurd and embarrassing. And I just wish that we would live to see the day when Trump supporters wake up to this. The sad fact is, Heaven's Gate, this old cult that existed from the 1970s to the 1990s, they all checked out together. There were 39 of them that checked out together. In 1996, I think March 27th, 1996. Let's see how accurate that was. Yeah, March 26th, 1997. I was right. This is their website, really, by the way, all the way back from 97. This group had 39 people that were active believing members, but over the years, from the 70s to the 90s, maybe 100 people or 150 cycled through in and out of this group. It came to the point where they were ready to all check out together, and they did. 39 of them, the last remaining active members, they left one person behind to manage their intellectual properties for them. Their house, their gigantic mansion, they all lived in a mansion together. The leaders' books and copyrighted materials and all that stuff, left all of that behind to this one guy. And now that they're gone, there is no original member on Earth. There's a reason I'm talking about this. Nobody can join this cult anymore. They haven't been able to join this cult since 1997. Now, there are still remaining believing members. All these years later, 2023, 25 years later, we've got people, multiple, not just the one guy left behind, but some of the people that cycled through the group over the years still believe it. They came back to the belief, came back to the faith, if you will, after everybody checked out. In my opinion, there will always be somebody that believes that Trump is the Messiah. Now that he has harnessed this cult-like mindset that was already primed and ready to go, they just needed somebody to latch onto. Now that he's harnessed that, now that he's embraced it and taken it over, he will always have somebody that believes he's a Messiah. Anyway, let me know what you think about it in the comments. Well-reasoned. I don't know if it'd be better for Trump to go away or not. We end up with DeSantis. I don't know, but he could be worse. Yeah, DeSantis is not fantastic. I feel like what DeSantis is doing right now is intentionally setting out to be as extreme as humanly possible, further right than Donald Trump, so that when Trump exits politics or he kicks it or whatever, DeSantis will pick up that cult following. In my opinion, that's what DeSantis is doing. I don't even think that he expects to win, any races for president. In my opinion, I think DeSantis is just going for name recognition this time around. And He's going to try to pick up all those Trump supporters when Trump exits. You have any thoughts, Rose?
I mean, I don't think he has much of a chance of being president, even if, Donald Trump is put in prison or, something else happens. He is so unpopular right now. Like, even in his own state, I think he's super unpopular. I don't know what his plan is. Like, maybe it's name recognition. Maybe, I don't know. But there's no way that he's going to end up winning anything at this point. We'd probably end up with Pence more than likely.
It's interesting. I think that Chris Christie let's assume that Trump is just out of the picture entirely. And let's assume that DeSantis is also out of the picture. I think that if both of those people were not running, Chris Christie would have a better shot than anybody in the primaries. But DeSantis is cratering hard right now. You're absolutely right. I've seen that too.